ECCYC is a free channel, presents the Word of God for everyone. Your support will help us to continue the mission. Visit our website, ECCYCnow.com. Even $1 will make a difference.
The Father and Son and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you. I don't know if I deserve that kind introduction. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm so excited to be back here with you for the second high school ECCYC convention for me. It's an honor to be part of ECCYC. I could tell you guys some of my best memories growing up were at ECCYC. I came every single year, and I continued to come up until I got married, and even until after I got married, I continued to come. I hope you guys do the same. I hope you guys had a great time this time. I want you to go back home, and when you see all your friends who decided not to come with you on this convention, I want you to tell them what a great time you had, how much you learned, how much fun you had. I mean, I don't want you to make them to feel bad, though. I want you to make them feel terrible, okay? No, I'm just kidding. I want you guys to encourage them to come next year, okay? Because I want you guys to have as many great memories at ECCYC as I've had through the years. I want to commend you guys for being here, really. You made a great decision by being here. I want to say I'm very proud to see such a large head count of girls. I'm very impressed. I feel like the girls are coming a long way. And I can tell you I'm seeing definite changes for the better. I think that we're starting to move a little bit away from the era of the cliques to some extent. And I'll tell you why. In my church, I'm the teacher for the college class. And our college Sunday school class had a retreat not too long ago. And as soon as we announced it, I had many girls automatically sign up, didn't ask me a question about who else was going. The boys, on the other hand, drove me nuts. Every time I would ask one of the boys if he was coming with us on the retreat, I would get the answer, I don't know. What other boys are going? And I was shocked. I'm like, really, guys? I want you guys to man up, sign up, and when you get there, you'll find out who else is going. So I saw that the girls signed up. They didn't care who else was going because they wanted to go. And I'm so proud of you guys. So give yourselves a big round of applause. I want to thank my beloved brothers for allowing me to be here with you and the coordinators. The only thing I want to be honest with you about is the one thing I always wish for is never, ever to be the last speaker. Because as the last speaker, I get a room full of girls who haven't slept for 2 nights and who are up at 7 o'clock this morning. And what made it worse is when I walked in and I saw some girls walking over from Starbucks, I overheard some of the conversations, and the conversations were, I slept a half hour ago, how about you? And so as much as I'm not an advocate of coffee, I hope the coffee that you had kicked in, okay? Because I need you guys to stay awake, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep you guys awake with me, okay? All right, so with that, let's get started. Okay. You are a firework. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, for those of you guys that were here last year, I'm going to have a pop quiz. Okay, if you guys were here last year with me, you remember there were 2 verses that I went over with you over and over and over. And I told you guys I expected you to remember them forever. I told you if I saw you a year from then, I wanted you to remember those 2 verses. So who can tell me at least one of those 2 verses? Who was here last year? And I know who was here last year. Who can tell me one of those 2 verses? I'll give you a hint. One of them is from 1 Corinthians 3, and one of them is a proverb. One of them has to do with the temple. Veronica.
Do you not know your body is a temple of God? And
Very good. So here's the first one. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? 1 Corinthians 3. And the second one was Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And I told you guys I expected you to remember them forever. So 1 year isn't too bad. I'll tell you guys a true story. My high school religion teacher, sophomore year, told us if we remember nothing else from high school, she wanted us to remember 2 Samuel 7. So not 1 year later, but 20 years later, someone from church was here in the audience with us, was in her class, and I told her, please go tell Mrs. Brannigan that I remembered 2 Samuel 7. So I expect you guys to remember those 2 verses for the next 20 years, okay? Deal? All right. Now, going forward, we're ready? We're awake? So we want to talk a little bit about what is a woman's role in our society. Is it this? I'll tell you guys, if I spend the day cooking and cleaning, I don't look quite that happy at home, and Abuna can tell you that. So we have a lot of roles in society today, okay? And I want to talk about some of them and how we can be better women, okay? Now, the first thing I want you to remember is don't underestimate the power of the Egyptian woman, okay? I want to tell you a little bit about your history. So in ancient times, women held very high roles in Egypt. Back in the times of the pharaohs, they were actually considered equal to the men of that time, okay? Some of them were doctors, some of them were judges. Are you impressed yet? So really, they helped to shape and influence their society, and I want you to know that today, many thousands of years later, you have the ability to shape and influence your society. And above all else, we know that Egypt is a very blessed place. Why do we know that? Who passed through the land of Egypt? Christ himself. So Egypt is a very blessed place. So, where are we today? First thing I want you to ask yourself, do you have your priorities straight? For us, what are our priorities? It's God, family, school, friends. So I want you to ask yourself, do I have those priorities in the right order? Okay, that's something we all have to think about. Unfortunately, the society that we live in tells us kind of all the wrong priorities, right? Unfortunately, the society and media, God is not a big priority according to them. So I want you guys to go against what society and the media are telling you about your priorities, okay? I'll tell you guys, America priorities are what? Who can tell me some of the priorities that we have here? Money. Excellent. Money. What else? Excellent. Appearance, right? America, it's all about appearance, how good you look. If you're a size 2, how much makeup you've on, how beautiful you look, what clothes you're wearing. It's all about appearance, money, fame, having fun. Those are the priorities in this country. And unfortunately, those are the wrong priorities. And sometimes we waste a lot of our time worrying about the wrong priorities. I'll tell you guys, when we went to Kenya a few months back, when I first got there, and we were spending time in some of the villages, and I saw the poor conditions these people lived in. I mean, really, the kids were in clothes that were ripped up. Some of them didn't even have shoes. They couldn't afford shoes. If they did have shoes, they were all ripped up. And, you know, I felt so sorry for those people. I said, wow, look at the poor conditions these people live in. But then I saw them, and they were actually very happy, very content. None of them were complaining. And then I realized I really shouldn't be feeling sorry for them. Actually, I should be feeling sorry for us here, because I felt like, why were they so happy? Because they had their priorities in the right order. Their priorities were they had a very basic life, okay? For them, life was God. They loved to hear about God. They loved to hear about Bible, family, spending time with each other. All the kids were playing outside. They had a very basic life, but they were very content and they were very happy, which is very different from the way we are here, right? What happens if our Wi-Fi goes down at home in one day? Right? We all go nuts, right? So sometimes here, I feel like maybe we should have more of a basic life that they do have over there. Again, unfortunately here, we waste our time sometimes learning from the wrong people. And unfortunately, the people who are most esteemed by society here sometimes lead the most troubled of lives. Here in this country, we treat actors and sports players like who? Like God, right? Sometimes we treat these people like God. They idolize them. They stalk them. They follow them. They're obsessed with them. So I just want to go over and see what type of aspects of their life we can idolize here. Let's see what we can learn from them. Okay, so here are some of the news about some of these people. Here's the first one I came across. Mr. Justin Bieber in his tour bus, drugs discovered. Who is the next one? Mr. DMX arrested and charged with driving while under the influence. Mr. A-Rod, he's about to face a lifetime ban, one of the greatest sports players, ruining his life basically by illegal steroid use. And Lindsay Lohan. I don't need to say any more about her. She's in the news basically every week because of some new crime or some rehab she's in. So it seems to me that all the things that America tells us to prioritize, the money and the fame, aren't doing them much good. Do you agree? Not doing them much good at all. It seems actually that the more they have, the more empty they are inside, and that's why they're resorting to drugs and alcohol. So, do you think we can do better? Demian, I think we can do a lot better. I think we can do a lot better. I think everyone would agree, right? So raise our expectations of ourselves, okay? Do not compare yourselves to those people and say, well, you know, I'm better than Lindsay Lohan. At least I don't do alcohol and drugs. You're a lot better, okay? And I want you to set much higher standards for yourselves, okay? We are children of the Almighty King, and I want you to remind yourself of that every day. There is a very beautiful verse, and it's in 1 John, and I never want you to forget this verse. Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Children of God. So even though he created us, so we're technically his creation, he never refers to us as created objects. He refers to us as children. And so I want you to remember that as children of God, you need to be a role model for others. And it's not as hard as you think it might be to be a role model for others. You can do it in your day-to-day actions, okay? And I'll tell you guys a story that I may have told you before. One of the girls in our church, she's in college now, very spiritual, very happy girl. And I think she's so happy. She's always like very cheerful, very smiley. And I think it's because she has a very strong spiritual life. She loves God, and you know, she loves talking about God and so on. And one of the girls who was doing a rotation in the pharmacy where I work happened to be from her school. The girl who was doing a rotation in our pharmacy was actually Muslim, not Christian at all. But she said to me, do you know Mariam? And I said, yes, she's from my church. And she said, I have learned so much from her. I have seen how much she loves God. I have seen her being such a good person, and I learned so much from her. Mariam didn't do anything except be herself around this girl. So we could influence anybody around us for the better. Be proud of who you are. I always want to remind you that. Because does God make mistakes? Absolutely not. God does not make mistakes. Therefore, if he made us in his own image and likeness, how can we look down on ourselves? Sometimes I wonder, how is it that we don't value ourselves as much as God values us? God values us so much. Why are we always so down on ourselves? Doesn't it seem like we're never totally happy with the way we look, the way we are, right? We always want what we don't have. Growing up, we're always like, why do I have such curly hair? I wish I had beautiful straight hair. And then what do the people with beautiful straight hair have? What do they say? I wish I had curly hair, right? We always want the opposite of what we have. And we should always just be happy and grateful with the way God made us. And I'll tell you guys a story that I heard from one of the other servants. This girl in high school, she led a very, quiet life. She wasn't wild and crazy. She just, school was her focus. She spent time at home. She just did what she was supposed to. But she described her life as very boring. And one day, one of the girls who was like captain of the cheerleading team, beautiful girl, outgoing, popular, all the guys, asked this girl out. She went up to this girl who's now a servant and said to her, I envy your life. And she said, my life? Why do you envy my life? And she said to her, because you just seem like you have such a stable life. You have like a loving family. And she said to her, but you have it all. I mean, look at all the guys that ask you out. And she said, those guys use me. And I know that. So I want you guys to remember that even though we may think that our lives are boring, they're not as wild and crazy as everyone else's, believe it or not, sometimes those are the best lives to have, and people actually envy us for having such a good, stable, loving family. I also want you to pay close attention to this verse. It's in Ephesians 2. You are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. So we said we're children of God. Now we're citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. So I don't want you to take being Coptic Orthodox for granted. I don't ever want you to be ashamed of it or embarrassed of it. I want you to be proud of it. It really is a blessing and an honor. I'll tell you guys, when we went to Kenya, being Coptic there actually is very well known. There's a huge Coptic hospital there, huge. They actually have the largest HIV clinic in all of Africa. So over there, people respect Coptic Orthodoxy very, very much. And there's an orphanage there for the Kenyan children. And it's run by somebody her name is Taswani Demiana. And I couldn't wait to meet her. I said, wow, this lady is amazing. You know, this woman is dedicating her life to helping these orphans out. So when I first saw her, I'm like, wow, she really doesn't even look Egyptian. And then she started talking, and I said, she sounds like she has a Brooklyn accent to me. So finally I start talking to her, and she tells me her story. She's Italian. She was born and raised Brooklyn, and she used to be, I believe, a Catholic nun. And, you know, over time, she ended up being in a class with His Grace Bishop Yusuf, and somehow they started talking, and then she started looking more into Coptic Orthodoxy, and she loved it so much that she's dedicating the rest of her life to it. So again, guys, don't ever take for granted what you were born into. So that brings me to our topic. So how can I become the Coptic Orthodox woman I am called to be? Okay, number one. Let's read number one together, since the right side of the room is starting to fall asleep over there. Be a leader, not a follower. Very good. This is the most important thing that I want you to leave today remembering. Be a leader, not a follower. Okay? Why? You know right from wrong, so don't be afraid to stand up for it. Unfortunately, we tend to get very shy, very embarrassed, like we don't want to put anyone on the spot. If somebody tells us to do something, we know that it's wrong. We don't want to kind of embarrass them. Oh, here, have a smoke. And, you know, we just like, okay, because everyone else is doing it. But if you know it's wrong, guys, stand up for it. Don't worry about anyone else. You have to be the leader in the group. Don't just follow everyone around you. You're fooling yourself if you think you're immune to your environment, okay? We know, as I said, society teaches us all the wrong things, and we know that we actually basically have to go against almost everything that society tells us, okay? I don't want you to worry so much about what society tells us, what our friends tell us, what they will do or say if we don't do what they're doing, okay, guys? Be a leader. You will not miss out that much, okay? I'll tell you guys, I consider myself to have led a very sheltered life, and my coworker who's American, he knows that. He makes fun of me. He's like, oh, you probably don't even know what that is. And I'm like, you're right, I don't. So a lot of things he knows, and he'll make fun of it on occasion, and it doesn't bother me in the least. I don't mind at all that till this day, I have no idea what a cigarette tastes like. Never tried one, never will. I don't feel like I missed out on that. I have no idea till this day what weed smells like. And I grew up in Jersey City, by the way. I have no idea, and I don't feel like I missed out, and I'm so happy that I have no idea what it even looks like, okay? I'm sure I did not miss out on anything. I have no idea what it feels like to be drunk. No idea. They tell me how they wake up with these horrible hangovers the next day and headaches, and they're throwing up. I'm like, well, don't know. And I'm happy that I missed out on that, and I don't mind having missed out on that, okay? So don't worry about what everybody else is doing and what you're missing out on. I assure you, it's overrated. Be careful of traps, okay? This is key. I know what I'm doing is the devil's biggest trick. Do you think that a drug addict knows that he's going to be a drug addict when he starts the first time, when he has a first smoke of weed, or he tries something for the first time? Do you think he's doing it and he's like, yeah, I'm going to be a drug addict? Never. He never thinks he's going to be a drug addict. Everyone thinks it's, oh, it's just this one time, or oh, it's only with my friends on rare occasions. That's the devil's biggest trick. Okay? So don't ever think don't ever tell yourself, I know what I'm doing, because that's the trap. Okay? And that's why it says in Proverbs 3:7, do not be wise in your own eyes. If other people are telling you it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, and you say, no, but I know what I'm doing, let me tell you, it's wrong, okay? And I've seen this over and over and over. We've seen so many youth that fall into this trap. I was recently talking to a guy in college who has drug problems. He admitted to me he's been involved with weed, and I said, well, why can't you just stop? And he said, oh, I have. I've stopped many times. I've become totally clean. I said, okay, then what's the problem? And he said, well, then my friends call me, and then they tell me to do it with them, and then I go do it with them. And I said, really? Then don't go. Don't respond to them. Get some new friends. Get some new friends. If your friends are going to take you down, guys, lose them, okay? Why can't we be wise in our own eyes, okay? we are very limited, okay? I know everybody thinks we know it all, okay? But at the age of 14, 15, 16, we don't know it all. We're very limited. We are very influenced by our emotions, and so we need guidance. We absolutely need guidance. And let me tell you, that guidance is not going to come from your friends. Sometimes they can be the biggest traps. They don't mean to be, but they will. I'm going to go over that verse again that I said I didn't want you to forget from last year. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. One more time. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on. Good. You better remember it next year. I will ask, okay? So you're going to trust in God, okay, and ask for guidance from others. Okay. Now, the second thing, knowing the real enemy. Who is our real enemy? Absolutely, the devil, okay? I want you guys to know who's your real enemy and know who is on your side, okay? There are people out there who are looking out for you at all times, and sometimes we mistake them as the enemy when we're teenagers. Who are those people? Parents. Yes. Let's talk about that, guys. Let's talk about that. Okay. We are at war, okay? We are at war, right? We're fighting everything around us. We're fighting what society tells us. We're fighting our friends who are trying to take us down. You have to remember who is your enemy and who is your ally. Your ally is your family. Those are the people who will love you the longest on this earth, okay? They look out for you forever. They never, ever want to see anything bad happen to you. And what happens? How do we portray them? Do we thank them on a daily basis? No. As teenagers, sometimes we have this warped view that our parents were put on this planet to cook and clean for us, to pick up after us, to give us our allowance, to drive us to the mall and pick us up from our friends. And then if we ask them to go somewhere and they say no, what happens? All the Facebook posts start going out. I can't stand my parents, right? All of a sudden, all the good things they do, it's forgotten as soon as they say no to something. And I'll tell you guys, it's not fair. I'll tell you guys, parents get the short end of the stick. And I can tell you this because I'm a parent. And I'll tell you guys, it's really hard. When you guys are little, it's a lot of work, okay? There's a lot of diapers and a lot of sleepless nights. And then you guys get older and you become teenagers, and you're still a lot of work because parents spend every day looking out for you, looking out for how to protect you from all those horrible things in society that we talked about. So it's a really, really tough job. And I want you guys to ask yourselves, why do you think parents are so strict? Is it because they enjoy the daily arguments? No. No, it's because, yes?
I don't think they are. I think they just think differently than we do.
Okay, we'll talk about thinking differently.
They don't just want you to make the same mistakes they did.
Excellent. I think parents are so strict because guess what, guys? They were teenagers too, right? We talked about this last time. Parents were teenagers too. They don't want you, A, to make the same mistakes that they may have made, and B, especially your dads. Why do you think your dads are so strict? Because they know how teenage guys are like, right? So that's why they're super strict. I want you guys to remember that. They are so strict because they are looking out for you. So I want you guys to try to take all that energy that you put into fighting with them and to channel it towards fighting your real enemy, okay? I want you, that's the closest I can get to, on Google to Egyptian parents, okay? I want you guys to remember also that it's a commandment in the Bible, okay? It says here, right in Colossians 3, children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing to the Lord. So to me, that doesn't sound like it's really optional, okay? It's saying obey your parents in all things, not when you feel like, not when they're letting you do what you want. In all things, we should obey our parents. And remember that they're doing it for our own good. And I'll tell you guys something that one of the priests from Kenya who was born and raised there told me that I found very interesting. He said, oh, the Egyptian people are very similar to the Kenyan people. I said, oh, okay. And he said, but there's one thing that I noticed that's different. And I said, what's that? He said, the love of an Egyptian mother is more than I've ever seen in any other culture. I said, really? He said, I've never seen it. She offers food to her kids every hour of the day. And she is always just showing a constant outflow of love for her children. So really, guys, please don't take that for granted, Okay? Channel all that energy that you put fighting with them into fighting the real enemy. Okay? So how do we win the war? We said, A, we have to know our allies. We need appropriate weapons, right? You're going to go into war, you need some weapons. So Ephesians 6, take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always. Okay? We need those weapons. What other weapons can we have? Who can tell me some of the weapons that we can have? Communion. Excellent. So prayer and Bible, okay, those are absolute weapons. Confession and communion, those go hand in hand. Those are both weapons in this war that we need. What else? Anything else? Fasting, very good.
Wisdom from the Bible.
Wisdom from the Bible, very good. Some of the other things that come to my mind are spiritual hymns and spiritual readings. Sometimes we take those for granted. We think it's something that we only do in church. But I want you guys to take those outside of church as well. When I was in college, a friend of mine in college gave me a CD, and he said, here, listen to these English spiritual hymns. And I said, spiritual hymns? He said, yeah, listen to them in your car. And it was a new idea for me. And back then, there weren't that many English hymns on CDs. It's not like today. Most of them were Arabic, so this was, very, very new. And I started listening to it, and I started putting the car, and I said, oh, this is a great idea. You guys today have access to these hymns everywhere, right? We have them all over the web. We have them on iTunes. And I feel like sometimes we forget to take advantage of these things. And spiritual readings, I can never stress enough. Never. That is the best weapon that you could really use. You could read a spiritual book and it'll change your life forever. When I read the books of Tamavarini, and I love to talk about Tamavarini because she was a modern day woman, modern day saint really, who did not live 1600 years ago, but she lived, guys, within the last decade. She passed away less than 10 years ago, and I'm sure you guys have all heard about Tamavarini. And if you haven't, please go read her books. There are books in English. Watch her movie. We have to have spiritual readings because they motivate us, they inspire us, they help us to be better people. So please, guys, read, read, read. And last but not least, okay, besides the reading, you guys have so much technology available to you. Never in my wildest dreams as a girl did I imagine there would be a Coptic youth channel. You guys are so blessed, and I hope you put it to use. I know all your parents have the Arabic dish at home. So put the channel to use, or you can even watch it on your computer. Okay, number 3, take care of God's body. And what verse do you think I'm going to talk about? 1 Corinthians 3 again. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? Guys, we have to remember the bodies that we have here, they're on loan. Okay? God gives it to us, and then we have to give them back at the end. Okay? And we're going to need them again in the resurrection. I don't know if you guys know this, but we are going to use these bodies when we're resurrected. Not the same exact ones. They're going to be glorified versions of our bodies, but they we'll still need these bodies again. So take good care of them, guys. Do not damage them. You're not allowed to damage them. How do we damage them? Who can tell me how we damage them? Somebody from the right side of the room that's sleeping over there. Who can tell me how we damage them? Tattoos. Piercings. What else? How about internal damage? What else? Drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. These are damaging the bodies that we have to give back to God. And then one of the worst ones that really upsets me, and I won't talk about it much because I talked about it last time, is when people do senseless things like trying to hurt themselves. Okay? We cannot damage the body that God gave us. Always remember that. You will be judged for what you do to your bodies. So please take care of your body. Okay? Next. How else do we take care of our body? By not letting others defile our bodies. Okay? What does that mean? Letting others defile our bodies. Okay? I'm going to give you guys dating advice. Okay? And there's 2 ways that we can do this. For those that have asked me for advice before, and some of them have been smart and taken the advice, they've been very happy. For those that don't take the advice and they go ahead, they come back to me later and you know what they say to me? You were right. I'm so sorry. I should have listened. Why didn't I listen to you? So I'll tell you guys now, I tend to be right, so I suggest you listen, and then you can thank me later, okay? This is my advice, okay? Clear and simple. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Just ask yourself, do you really think you're going to marry him? Really? You guys all know the answer. I promise you, you will not marry someone that you start dating now. I promise you. Take my word for it, okay? And I told you guys the story of the couple that started dating, and I know them very well. They started dating early on in high school. They used to be best friends. And of course, guys get very confused when they're best friends. They always think they have to ask her out after. Guys, if this happens to you, you tell them you keep it at friendship, okay? Because guys just get confused very easily. So anyway, so they started dating. They stayed together all through college. They got engaged. And just a few months before the wedding, what happened? They broke it off. Why? She realized they had changed so much over all those years. She realized they had become two different people with two different interests. So I promise you guys, you will not marry him from now. So don't bother, okay? You may still be asking, okay, well, why is it wrong? Okay, I'll tell you very quickly. Number one, if you go ahead and decide to start dating and you tell Mama and Baba, I'm going to start dating, you think they're going to say yes? Yeah, my guess is they're not going to say yes, guys, okay? So in order to date, you're going to have to start doing what? A lot of lying. You're going to have to start doing a lot of lying. Last I checked, thou shalt not lie was one of the 10 commandments, okay? So number one, you're breaking that commandment right off the bat by lying, okay? Number two, you're lying to your parents. And as we said, the other commandment, thou shalt honor your mother and father. So right off the bat, you've already broken 2 major commandments. So for those people who always wonder, well, why is it wrong? I just gave you 2 very good reasons. We're breaking 2 major commandments right off the bat. And I know it's hard, guys. I know that everybody's doing it. I'll tell you a very funny story. Just this week, I was with a 6th grader from church, and he was telling me, oh, there's boys in my class are dating. This one boy keeps asking the girls out in 6th grade. And I said, is the girl saying yes? And he said to me, well, she didn't want to, but he kept asking and asking, and then she finally said yes. So I'll tell you guys, it's up to you to say no, okay? Because girls have self-control and self-respect, which boys typically don't. So it really is up to you to say no all across the board. Boys, you can't really blame them. They think with their hormones. That's just the way they physically are made right now, okay? It's up to you to make the logical decisions. All right? So don't waste your time, bottom line, okay? And I'll tell you guys one more story about that servant I mentioned earlier. So that servant who I mentioned led a very normal Egyptian life in high school. She said her lab partner was like a captain of the football team, very popular, you know, all the girls liked him and so on. And one day he said to her, you know what, you've been such a good lab partner, I think I'm going to ask you out. And she said to him, no thank you. And he said to her, what do you mean? How could you say no? And she said to him, well, number one, I'm not allowed to date. Number two, if I was, I wouldn't date you. And let's just say he wasn't very happy with that response. His ego was like mortally wounded. He was devastated. Wouldn't talk to her again until graduation. But this is the best part. Pay attention for this part, okay? On the day of graduation, he went up to her and he said to her, you know what, we're probably never going to see each other again. So I do want to let you know one thing. I've dated a lot of girls here. I will date a lot more in college. But when the time comes for me to get married, I want to marry someone just like you. And she said, what? And he said, yeah, we would never marry some of those girls that we date, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. Guys, and he told her, he said, you should hear what we say in the locker rooms. Guys don't want used goods. So keep that in mind, okay? This is a true story, okay? Don't waste your time, guys. Very true story. All right. Again, we talked a lot about protecting God's temple, knowing how valuable you are. And I want you to know the verse in 1 Corinthians 6, for you were bought at a price, therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. What's the price we were bought at? Christ's blood. Very good. Crucifixion was the price that God paid for us. We have a very heavy price tag. In God's eyes, we're very, very valuable, okay? Therefore, value yourselves, value your bodies, have self-respect, guys. Don't let anyone abuse you, disrespect you, and don't ever, ever, ever be in an abusive type of relationship, okay? I know people who've done that. One of the college girls, ironically, she's majoring in criminal justice. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah, I want to fight for women's rights. And then later on, she told me, you know what, I just got out of a very bad relationship. I was with an insanely jealous person, and he would tell me where to go and where not to go and what to do and what not to do. And I said, I don't get it. You want to fight for women's rights? How could you let yourself fall into that trap? And she said that's how easy it was, okay? That someone who feels that strongly about women's rights fell into a trap. So be careful, guys. Don't let anyone ever disrespect the valuable person that you are. Okay, we talked about this. Dressing God's temples, guys, okay? This is the temple. I have to respect it, respect myself, okay? I don't want to see any of these kind of pictures on Facebook. It drives me nuts, okay? Facebook is like a fashion show. I don't know why people feel the need to take pictures of themselves wearing very strange clothing and then posting it on Facebook, okay? There's no need for that, guys. If you respect yourself and you value yourself, you will not feel the need to get that type of attention. We don't need that kind of attention. So be careful of the way you dress, guys, please. I know you know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I know right now the style is short. I know that. I know the style is shorter than short. But it doesn't mean that we have to go with that style, okay? Just because everybody in school is wearing those mini skirts doesn't mean that we're going to wear them to church or wear them to school, okay? Doesn't mean that you could wear it in school and not in church. So please, guys, dress God's temple appropriately. We don't want that kind of attention ever. Okay, now time to wake up again. We're going to have a brief intermission. Not that you're getting out of your seats, but I figured we'd do a quick activity. I'm going to say different statements. They're either Bible verses or just statements that I made up or very wise sayings, okay? So you tell me if it's a verse or not. Do not be wise in your own opinion. Verse or not? Verse. Good. That verse is in Romans 12:16. Next one. Mind your own business. Verse or not? Ha. 1 Thessalonians. But we urge you, brethren, that you increase more and more, that you also aspire to lead a life to mind your own business. We get that right from the Bible. Right from the Bible, guys. Okay? That's how we know we should mind our business. It's a biblical commandment. Okay. Why put off until tomorrow what you can do today? No, not a verse. I just like that saying. I like that. I think you should always put, never procrastinate. Okay? But good advice. Okay, next. Can the blind lead the blind? Verse. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into the ditch? Be a leader, not a follower. Don't follow the blind people around you. Worry about tomorrow. Very good. Not a verse. It's the opposite. We shouldn't worry about the little things because why? Do not worry about tomorrow. God will take care of it for us. Tomorrow will worry about its own things. Judge your brother to guide him from the error of his ways. Not a verse. That was a tricky one. I was trying to get you there, okay? Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. So that's why I tell you, don't worry about anybody around you, what anybody else does. Just judge yourself. Don't judge anyone else. Okay, back to business. Number 4. We're nearing the end here, guys. Don't be a... Okay? One of the best advice I can give you. Don't be a drama queen, okay? I hope this doesn't apply to you, really. But I want to tell you, drama really damages people, okay? I know girls who, were involved with drama when they were in junior high. Somebody thought somebody was talking about somebody who was talking about them. And that's it. They got so hurt, they didn't come back to church. And these girls are now, in their late 20s, and they still can't bring themselves to come back to church. They're so hurt. They can't even get over it. So please, guys, don't get involved with the drama. Be careful that you can really cause permanent damage to someone else, okay? And I want you to follow what it says in Philippians 2. Let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his interests, but also for the, let's read this part together, for the interests of others. So we need to look out for each other, guys. We need to look out for each other. We need to be humble, okay? We need to stop getting upset at everything and just really look out for each other and esteem others better than ourselves, okay? Please, guys, welcome everybody else around you, okay? Don't get involved with drama. If somebody around you is talking, then you know what? Walk away from it. Just tell them, you know what? I don't want to be involved with drama, okay? Please, guys. That, I think, is the biggest downfall for girls, okay? The drama. We need to end it. Nobody's talking about you. Everybody thinks that somebody's talking about somebody who's talking about somebody who's talking about you. Nobody's talking about you, so stop talking about it, okay? Deal? Deal? Okay, good. All right. Last but not least, Be a positive light, okay? We can walk around life complaining about everything, or we can be a positive light that enjoys the life that God gave us, and we can be a positive example for other people. Matthew 5:16, very important verse. Let's read this one together. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Like I mentioned with that example of that girl earlier. Other people saw the light that was coming from within her because she had a very strong relationship with God. So I want you to build a strong relationship with God, and that light will shine right through you. It will shine and emanate from you, okay? So that you can be a positive example for other people. And I want you to build that strong relationship with God now, not later, okay? I've heard some people have the misillusion saying, oh, I'm a teenager now. I don't need to do that till I'm older. No, no, no. Absolutely not. Many of the Coptic saints and martyrs, what were they? They were teenagers. A lot of them. A large majority of them were teenagers. So you build that strong relationship now, okay? You have to start working at it. And that's what's going to protect you from falling into those traps that we talked about. All right, so let's review, okay? I went over 5 things that I want you to do to help make yourself a better woman. What was number 1? Very good. Be a leader, not a follower. Excellent. What was number 2? Know who's on your side. Know who's on your side. Okay? Family. Your family. Respect your parents. Put family as a priority in your life, guys. Okay? As you grow up as teenagers and go to college, don't forget your family and put them at the bottom of your priority list. Okay? They are the ones who love you no matter what. And I want you to do the same for them. Know that when they're giving you advice, it's only because they're looking out for you. They have nothing to gain, guys. Nothing to gain. So when your parents are telling you don't do this and don't do that, and you're getting all upset, remember that it's for your own good, okay? And you may not realize it that day, but you'll realize it later on down the line. So know who's on your side. Family. What was number 3? Very good. Take care of God's temple. We have to give it back, and we will be judged for the way that we use it. I see the coffee's working. I'm happy that it's working. Number 4, stay clear of? Very good. And number 5, be a shining light. Be a shining light for everyone around you, okay? In your school, in your church, in your workplace, everywhere around you. All right, guys, so go ahead, be a shining light and light up the world.